Hi, welcome to Sue Marie P. My name's Sue and I'm originally from Australia, but I now live in Gothenburg, Sweden. So I've been trying to share a few Swedish style recipes. This one I'm going to share with you today is called a Swedish fruit and nut bread. It's quite a dense bread filled with dried apricots, figs. I've got almonds and walnuts in here. It's delicious, fresh, with like hard cheese, like a beautiful vintage cheese, or you can toast it slightly and put spreads on it, or have it with cold meats. Great for Christmas time if you're looking for an alternative to crackers. It's a large loaf. I made it in my 1.5 litre tin. So it makes about 20 slices. So if you'd like to see how I make my Swedish style fruit and nut bread with whole grain spelt flour, come with me and let's see. Step one for our Swedish fruit and nut bread. I'm going to use fresh yeast today because that's what most of the Swedish recipes have. I've got 10 grams and I'm just going to crumble that into this water I've got here. I've got 300 mils of just room temperature water. Just going to stir that to dissolve it slightly. Let's pop that to one side. Before we started filming, I've prepared all my fruit. So I'm using dried apricots, which I've chopped in half, and I've got some dried figs, which I've chopped into smaller pieces, and I've taken the stem off them. So we've got 200 grams of the figs and 200 grams of the apricots, and I'll pop some other measurements above. And in this bowl, the original Swedish recipe had hazelnuts, but I didn't have any in the cupboard, so I'm using almonds. I've blanched them and removed the skins. So I've got 120 grams of blanched almonds, and I've got 100 grams of walnuts. And I lightly toasted those in the oven at 160 for about 10 minutes. But I'm not going to chop them up. The recipe said not to chop them, so I'm just going to go over that. And I'm going to do whole grain spelt flour, which is my little twist on the recipe. But you feel free to use your favourite flour. You could use regular flour. Just putting the dough hook on my mixer. So as I said, I'm using whole grain spelt flour, and there's 360 grams of flour, which is 2 cups plus 2.5 tablespoons. And the bowl must have been a bit wet because the flour got stuck. Now we can pop in the fruit, and we'll pour in the yeast mix as it's mixing on low. And this is a great bread to have with cheese at Christmas time, or just to slice and have it on its own. Oh, there's a little bit stuck. I'm just going to grab some more water. Now we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of salt and all these nuts. So you're going to knead this for about 5 minutes. Once it's mixed a little bit more, I'll bump it up to a medium speed. Just going to stop it. My dough hook doesn't seem to be doing much, so I'm just going to scrape it away from the sides of the bowl. I think because it's got all those nuts and seeds in there that it's not really mixing around. Let's try again. And this I'm doing in my large loaf tin. That's about a 12-inch tin by 4, and I've greased it with butter and lined it with paper. I've done the paper both ways just so it doesn't stick. Just helping it along a bit because it's not really kneading properly. One thing I like to do, I like to transfer it from the metal bowl into a glass bowl for proving. So I'm just going to oil this bowl. This is just a little bit of rapeseed oil. I think I'm going to go in with my hand because it's not mixing properly in the bowl. So let me just give it a bit of help. I don't really think it needs much more kneading than this. So it's quite a sticky mixture and quite wet, but I'm going to let it just do its thing to prove. And then if we need more flour, I'll do that when I knead it into the shape before we bake it. I'm just going to cover this with a cloth and let it sit here for about an hour until it just rises a little bit more. So I ended up leaving my dough for an hour and a half, and I covered it with plastic to help it along. It just creates a more humid environment. So now we need to knead it on the bench. Just going to grab some rice flour and pop that down. Scoop it out. So we don't actually have to knead it for very long. We just have to form the shape to pop in the tin. Let's go. Add a little bit of flour to the top. So fruit filled. Just trying to get it to be as long as possible. And I'm popping some of that larger pieces of fruit and nuts down. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let me just... Okay, I'm going to pop that in. I'm going to rest it for another 45 minutes. Which I might just pop the plastic back on top too. And in the meantime, I'm going to get my oven heated up. I'm going to pop it on to 180 degrees C. If you don't have a fan forced oven, pop it on to 200 degrees. So our Swedish bread is ready to bake, and there's no need to put an egg wash or anything on it. We just bake it like this. So I'm going to bake it in the oven now for, I think it's about 40 minutes. So the fruit and nut bread's baked. At 30 minutes, I popped some foil on just to ensure that it didn't over brown, and it looks delicious. I need to wait till this completely cools, so I'm going to come back tomorrow and slice it up to show you what it looks like on the inside. I just thought I'd double check and do the sounds hollow, and look at that lovely crunchy outside. Can't wait to slice it open and have a look. So I've let my Swedish fruit and nut bread cool down overnight, and I've sliced it up, and it's quite a dense, thick bread. So it's perfect to have with cheese, as I said in the intro, or cold meats. Great for Christmas time on the Christmas buffet. You can toast it, or you can just have it fresh. I reckon it would last a few days. Maybe you want to put it in the fridge after 3 or 4 days, depending on how warm your temperature is. You could freeze it, make it now and freeze it in time for Christmas, or you could slice it before you freeze it. I think it's going to make about 20 slices. I'm going to have like a little taste test, just without anything on, which is probably not ideal. So check that out. I'll do some photos and pop them up above so you can see what the texture is. I just bit into the fig and the apricot. That's really delicious. I think this will taste nice toasted with butter for breakfast with a coffee. You need good teeth to chew through all the textural like fruit and nuts. Hope you've enjoyed my Swedish recipe today. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see more Swedish recipes, or if you give this a go, let me know. Don't forget, share it with a friend, hit the thumbs up if you liked my video, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.